simple and easy. It's only human for us to choose simple and easy over difficult and hard. That's why you choose Netflix over reading for 30 minutes a day. That's why you choose to sleep instead of going for a run. That's why you choose to sit on the couch, snack instead of going to the gym. It's only human to choose simple and easy over fun and hard. But if you spend your life choosing simple and easy over hard, difficult task, it's like a balance. You spend most of your life in simple and easy, therefore you're going to spend the remainder of your life in a hard and difficult place. But when you spend most of your life stretching your mind, working on yourself, trying to grow your abilities, learning and reading, then you would enjoy the hard work, the benefit, the reward of hard and difficult. They say, do not seek to follow in the footsteps of the old. They say, seek what they seek. That is, you are not to be following blindly, but you should do things with purpose. Don't just follow blindly. Seek what that person is seeking. Ask questions. Make decision. They say you should listen to a lot of people, but make sure the conclusion it's yours. Make sure the final decision it's yours and yours only. Today we all make a lot of decisions that we think they ours, but 99% of the decision, even the word that comes out of our mouth these days, are borrowed from our environment, from our surrounding, from what we've heard from other people say, from what other people say. 99.9% of those are borrowed. Even our religion, our culture, sometimes they're imposed on us, but somehow we think this is our own making. So don't just follow blindly. Don't just follow people blindly for whatever they're saying, whatever they're preaching. Ask yourself the question, what is in these people's interest? Why do they want this? Why are they saying this? Why are they preaching this? Why should I follow this? Why do you think like one single person could change everything? Why the whole country, your whole economy? Why do we think like one person could create a value that's going to span a lifetime, and we all are going to align by this simple value, one simple value, and we are going to align and support this? What's the possibility of this becoming a reality, of one person setting a value that we all abide by this? Knowing that even in our life, in our house, it's very difficult for us to actually abide by one simple values. I was watching something on social media the other day where a comedian was posting about the kid, the daughter, and the daughter was having a sort of rude behavior, and it was entertained because obviously the comedian probably came from nothing and now has something, and is kind of in a position where he felt like he wants to give the daughter everything. But it's a set of different value perceptions. So if we live in a house where we can't even abide by one simple value, now imagine the whole world, the whole country, the whole state abiding by one value, especially when this value is for the long run, not immediately, because most people are in need for themselves. They rather sell themselves short immediately than plan for the future. And that's why most people are choosing easy, simple over hard and difficult, because hard and difficult is for the long haul. It might not pay today. Look at the decision most people made how many years ago. They are paying for that decision today. So now, one single value, and we all are gonna abide by that. We're gonna follow that. This would not be self-imposed on us. We're gonna go after this value willingly, like we've contemplated on a decision. We're saying yes, we're gonna choose this, because for wherever we are, wherever country or wherever we're doing, you are a reflection of that country. You are a reflection of that country, because wherever you are thinking of exploiting someone somehow. You're trying to get paid for work not done. You're trying to inflate some invoice or something. So whatever is going on, You are a reflection of where we are. So if you want to start making change, the change has to start from you. You have to say, yes, I am choosing this. We're in a bad place, but I am trying to make a change. And the change has to start with you. Imagine this. In this very complex world where everyone is fighting from some sort of identity or the other. This is the some people want to be addressed, and some people wants to force you to address them the way they want to be addressed. Where most people want to impose their values on you, whether you like it or not. You must comply, or society would come against you, regardless if that's your value or not. Now, forgetting all that and putting that aside, whose value are you going to live by? Remember, you are a reflection of the society up to now, of the country up to now, of your state up to now, of your community up to now. You are a reflection of it. And now that you have a choice to make a change, now that you have a choice to decide what happens for the next 10, 15, 20 years, I'm sure you must love how things are going on around you. Because if you love where you are, if you love how things are happening around you, if you're so content, then that is fine. Why do you need a new value? Why do you need a new superhero? Why do you need? Because you are already a reflection of your environment. Because for things to change, Jim Rohn says this, for things to change, you need to change. So if you're going to go for different value, if you're going to try and implement what another person is saying, that means you have to change. Because so far, you have been a reflection of the society, of the world, of the country, of the things happening around you. You've been part of it from your decision, the decision you've made yesterday, day for yesterday, a year ago, how many years ago. It's what's playing itself out now. So you must be comfortable where you are. If not, you will probably have a choice to make another decision. But if, only if, you are saying you are not very comfortable with where you are, only if you're saying you sold yourself short, like maybe they bought you for some like rice and beans or flour or whatever, only if you're saying that they bought you cheap and then it wasn't sustaining, like because you thought like, okay, you could sell yourself or whatever and then it could sustain you and your family. But looking back now, it hasn't sustained you and your family, and you're probably on the get out list, exit list, like so many people have been exiting these days. For every time I turn around, there's someone in their 60s, there's someone in their 50s, there's someone in their 40s who are trying to migrate, like someone who's built their life, people who should be relaxing, people who should be like in retirement age, people who should be just trying to eat on the benefit of their work. Those people are migrating to different countries, any country who could accept them, to start as an apprentice. Because for everywhere they migrate into, they haven't got the capital. They haven't, as in the capital, not finance. They haven't got the finance. But even those who have the finance to migrate, they haven't got the skill to go into a workforce where they required. Imagine going to a company as a 40 years old with no experience. People are willing to give you a try. Go when you were 25, 23, 26, 27. They're like, okay, you've got a few years to learn. But imagine going to a workforce at the age of 40 with no experience, or with experience which is of no count, because of no use. Because most people who are migrating here are coming with an experience that's of no value. So whatever decision you have taken years back, 10, 15 years ago, 8 years ago, you have a choice to now either take that decision again because it works for you, you are a reflection of the system, or you have a choice to take a decision that it might not impact you, but it might impact the people behind you. It might impact some of your generation. So what I'm saying is basically, you cannot escape the blame in this. We all have a part to play in whatever direction we are heading, because we all made this decision. We all took part in where we are today. So what I'm saying, you're saying to me, all of a sudden you would abandon your values for the betterment of the people, like the people who you've never thought about before, who themselves share the same value as you. And most people, number one goals are self-interest. So we are going to abandon the self-interest and now choose for a society that works for us all, because this is what the world demands of you, to abandon that self-gain and now to negotiate and adopt a new law order that works for everyone for the foreseeable future. So what is the worst case scenario? What's the worst case scenario? What if the worst case scenario happens? Is it very uncomfortable, or would it be very uncomfortable? Is it scary? Sure. It's meant to be. It's meant to be scary. But waiting for a savior that's what's holding us back, because we tend not to take the blame. Nobody wants to blame themselves for the decision they've made before. Like, they simply just escape the blame. Even the people who were bought for rice and beans, they probably just said, well, it was going to happen before either I did it or not. But why not take the stand and go against it? At least for nothing, if when you are suffering, like you're suffering because you stood your ground. Because whatever you have decided to take, you're going to run out of that. So there is nothing holding you back. It's not because you can't start, but because you've become so dependent. You've become handcuffed. The hardest thing is starting. Everything to today you have overcome. Even in the hardest circumstance, you've overcome up to today. So starting is not the problem. You already did. Because the worst case scenario is where you are right now. I tell you, the worst case scenario is where you are right now. Only it would take you about another 4 years or more to realize it. When you in the future imagine you could have done more. Just like most people imagine now what they could have done 6-7 years ago, and they can't stand themselves, and all they have to do was to take off. And I'm talking about people in their 50s, 60s, coming to start a new life as a student with grown-up kids, for the decision they made 8 years ago. Imagine that, living with that, and knowing that you're about to make another decision that you're going to live with for who knows how long. So how bad could it be? How bad could it be? I think this is one of the in one of Donald Trump's speech, he said to the Black American, what have you got to lose? As in, what have you got to lose? For everyone you voted up to now, nothing has changed in your environment. What have you got to lose giving me a go? So just imagine the good you could have done now. But no, you just sit and hope. And just to live, you just think, oh, well, I will just live and survive and just exist. Not to flourish, not to get your potential. Why? Because you are a reflection of the society. How many of you in your job, how many of you in your position have not tried to get one over the other person? Somehow take some backhanders or whatever. Don't exactly become moral and ethical in your rule. How many of you? So you are a reflection of the society. So for change to happen, you have to change. It has to come from you. Jim Rohn says, for your environment to change, you have to change. It starts from the inside out. Okay, so let's imagine the worst case scenario. It didn't work out. Okay, we're back to where we are, which is here. But is it reversible in 8 years? Like, some they say the devil is better than the devil you don't know, which I don't think so, but what about if the devil you don't know happens to be God? But is it reversible in 8 years? Or do you think from where you are today, from your vantage point, which is so, however it's impacting you, what do you think? To be in these same states for another 8 years, 4 years maybe, and let's say at extreme another 8 years, what would become of you? Let's say you choose and it's it didn't work. Now you can maybe discard all that plan and move to a neighboring country, start a new life afresh, which most people are doing now as a trainee at 60, an apprentice at 60. But at least you had the courage to stand up to what you believe in. Like, you were never bought. You could not look your kids in the eyes and say, yes, I sold away your future for a few bags of rice or beans or whatever. You can't look like or how much ever you are being paid, because the thing is, like, for how much ever you are going to get first from the source, and there's like probably 10 middlemen before it gets to you. And so for whatever you think you're worth, that's not what you're getting. And for whoever is paying you thinks you're worth, that's not what you're getting. Probably take that and divide it by 10. You're probably getting 1/10 of what you are worth, if any. So now multiply that by 8 years and pay yourself monthly and see what comes out of it. So when you talk about what's the worst case scenario, you could do the analysis yourself today and see where you would be in 8 years. That's what companies do. You sit down, put things in plan and calculate, if I do this and this, I will end up here. It's simple and easy. So they say, listen to people, take advice, but make sure you reach your own conclusion. Make sure that conclusion is yours, because only one person is going to live with that, and it's you. The decision is yours. You know your value, or whatever value you put on yourself. How much do you think you are worth? Other than that, when do you stop becoming a reflection of the society? When are you willing to make the change? Because up to today, you have been exactly the same as the society. You've all leaned in the same direction, a replicate of the environment. You make a mistake of trying to travel through the international airport or go to any civil service organization. For things you pay, you never get them, except you give some backhanders or stay in the queue for days and days. I remember trying to go through the national identification number or something, trying to get something that I'm due for. After paying the right amount, I was meant to be on the queue for days and days and days just because I refused to give any backhanders. And then tomorrow, that same person is complaining about what direction the country is leaning to. So I say, you are a direct reflection of the country, of the economy, of the state. Until you begin or try to, but people make a lot of excuses. Of course, I'm not paid enough, and there's always going to be those examples. It's never going to come from. People always talk about how the Western world is so, there's no corruption, and human beings are corrupt by nature. The only thing there, the difference is there is a check in place. A governor was speaking about his time in office when he had different people in different schools who are outside the teacher. He had a direct link to him to tell him this is going on here, that is going on there. That's a sort of check, and they go not very sophisticated, but that's a check nonetheless. But everyone has an interest. Those kids will call him up, or whoever in place, a school prefect will call him up, tell him this is what's lacking here, because for them that's their interest, and then they had the direct link. And some other people would try and stifle that. But what I'm saying, everyone has a part to play. You are not above blame. You are not above blame. So whatever decision you make today, it would impact on you, because no one would give off power willingly. No one. People would rather die than give off power. So if you're sitting on your hands and waiting, that thinking power would come, power would change, a savior will come and deliver you, you better start getting ready to be an apprentice at 60. Because the only change that comes, someone says the best wave to ride is that created by you, because the only change that comes is that which you make for yourself. Listen, we can never allow the fear of the unknown keep you tied and enslaved by the devil you know. What if the other options is what you've always been looking for, but you never knew, you never tried, you never allowed it, you never gave it the chance? The possibility of losing always stops us from playing. It always stops a lot of people from even taking part. When Gretzky says you lose 100% of the shots you never take, that's it. If you never try, you never know. How relevant can you be? Let me tell you how relevant one person can be. If one person in my area, in my local council, whatever, I can convince 5 other people that this is why we need to go the direction. Just 5, just me, plus one person, 6. And that's 6 people, and each of those other 5 people could convince other 5 people to go a direction that's going to work for us all in the long run. Imagine how many changes we could make. So sometimes, of course, one person can't change the world if we all never bought into that action reaction. They say some people just wish and pray and wish and pray and fold their hands and wish and pray, and then they so angry by other people becoming successful who they deem to be doing the wrong things, like in their own value, the wrong things. But regardless of what you do in action, There are a lot of people who are very successful today doing the wrong thing, but their action is an activity. They say if you take one step every day, you have 365 steps in a year, compared to someone who's taking no steps. It's zero. Just one step, just one. So it's action. One person, one single person cannot change the country if you never bought into it. And that if you think changing the country is a bad idea, then please go against it. Because if I'm very comfortable in my position, why would I change? Why would I seek change? You don't need to persuade me. Why would you persuade me to do something that's going to work against me? People often talk about ethnicity, religion, race. If I'm very comfortable, I've always thought about it in this simple way. Is either you are rich or you are poor. That's how I've thought about it. Is either you're rich or you're poor. Because when you go to the richest place, you find people from all ethnicity there. When you go to the poorest place, you still find people from all ethnicity, all religion, all race there. So it's either you are rich or you're poor. So, but if I'm very rich in a society where people are running, crying, dying, but I'm very comfortable, why do I need to change? It doesn't matter if the people who are hungry and whatever are from the same race, same religion as me. Of course, we have them. In every race and religion, we have so many rich people, but it's none of their business. If you're rich, if you're poor and you're from the same, of course, they'll give you leftovers. It's much easier for me to take £100 from you every day, from the resources that belongs to you every day, and give you £1. That's much easier, because at least you see me as a good person, that at least I gave you £1. So the thing is not, if you are very comfortable in this situation, I don't see why you need to change. But if you are very uncomfortable and you know you are very comfortable, then you have to go with the change that would work for you and every other person. Why one single person can't make a change implementing one single dream? That's how Malaysia changed. That's how Vietnam changed. That's how China that is now dominating the whole country in Africa. It's the dream and goal of some very few people. Of course, Taiwan was part of China before, but those people had a different idea, and after some civil war, they end up moving on to practice what they believe in, and the mainland China remain and practice what they believe in, and one is flourishing more than the other. But it's that idea started from very few group of people, bought into by a wider audience. So if you by no means believe in what someone is trying to sell, what's trying to preach you, then just go against it. Because if something gets better, it gets better for everyone. It gets bad for everyone. Even when a lot of people have the option, the power, everything shown to them, they keep waiting for someone, for God to give them the answer. When the answer has been, the prayer has been answered, everything is passed down to them, they have the opportunity to make a change from the core level. They still wait for answers. Why? Because when some people have, like they say, when some people have been so malnourished, the idea stops to work. They start to believe in figmentation. They start to actually believe that they have no part to play in their own existence. That whatever happens in their life has to be as a result of a third party. It's outside their control. They begin to see themselves not as a seed which has everything in it to become a tree, but as the environment that surrounds it. Some people might have seen this as the second coming, or waiting for it as the second coming of Christ. Because some people say it needs a divine intervention for things to change. But the divine intervention, it's there on your lap, it's there in your hand, it's there on your fingerprint, that You, the people, have the power. If you start thinking in a way that, look, my generation, they said I was having a conversation with my dad someday, and his days as a young boy, he enjoyed a better country than I did. When other countries were advancing on tarred road, were becoming tarred, our road, a tied road, was becoming untarred. Like when my dad was growing up, most of the road were tarred. But now all those roads are becoming untarred. When other countries are developing, in England, you walk around, you can hardly see any untarred road. Wherever there's no road, there's grasses. Like, countries are growing, countries are getting better. They're moving from, like, Dubai, how many years ago was a desert? So countries are getting better, people are advancing in life, but somehow it's the reverse. But if all this you are very comfortable with, it works for you, why make a change? Because from every society, there's the people who benefit from that. That's how it is. It's always been so in everywhere around the world. Not everyone benefit. You go to America, China, UK, everywhere in the world, there are poor people, regardless of how good the economy is. So there will always be poor. Even in the Bible, it says there would always be the poor. Gone are the days when they say ignorant is a bliss. Well, right now, what you don't know would harm you. What you don't know would sell you for a cup of rice. So it's in your own interest to go out and source out the information you need to say, look, would I be running away in my 40, 50, 60s to another country to start as an apprentice, as a trainee? Would all my skill and capital I've built be wasted? I see it every day. People in their 60s coming to start a job, competing with a 25-year-old when they should be retiring, relaxing, having a new life, having a new beginning. So if this is, and these are the people who can actually afford, I'm talking about people who are earning at least in the ratio of 1 million monthly, packaging their bag, their family, successful businessmen running away, going on self-imposed exile. So if these people are doing this, what about the people who are earning minimum wage? What would they do? How would they live? How would they survive? I get tons of text, email, WhatsApp every day for people for one reason or the other. I mean, there's only infinite amount of people you could reach out to. But this, you have your chance now to sit yourself and to look to your kids, to your generation, and said, at least I made the decision. I went with my heart. I didn't sell my future and your future for whatever. Because no matter whatever you think you're worth, you'll never be paid. You can never sell yourself for the value that would provide for you and your generation. But if the country becomes good, we all benefit from it. If the country becomes stable, we all benefit from it. If the country becomes rich, we all benefit. We know the country is rich beyond imagination. But are you one of those benefiting from it? Because if you are one of those benefiting from it, then I can persuade you to, sell your vantage point and become like the rest of us. But if you're not one of those benefiting from it, if you're one of those who's living in poverty, and somehow someone is trying to convince you that, it's because of some tribes, or it's because of some race, it's because of some region that you kept in poverty, and they living in some shiny house. Their kids are schooling overseas. They are, private jet up and down, but they're telling you to fold your hand, wait, and things are going to get better. That's because your ignorance has been taken advantage of. That's because of what you don't know is now hurting you. Gone are the days where what you don't know. Now what you don't know works against you, and it's been working against you for the past few years. But now you have the choice, you have the chance to sit up and say, now I make a new decision. Whatever mistakes I've made in the past is in the past, but now I am starting afresh. That is the worst case scenario. That is the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is you give yourself the opportunity to live in the country you love. You don't run to another country and at the age of 40, 60 to become an apprentice. The worst case scenario is you grow, live, and die in a country you love. So let's all try to have faith in a new beginning. Someone once says faith is the courage not to give up or to give in, even though doing so might be justified. Faith is like carrying on when from all evidence all road seems untenable. Well, faith is going against it. Because what is faith? Faith is basically the action. Faith is not just the wishing and hoping, but faith is, because the reason why faith is courage is because if once you give up, you don't have the ability to try. You can only have faith in something you are constantly doing, that like knowing like this thing is going to work out, this thing is going to get better. But you can't have faith when you've given up all hope and stop. It's like a boxer who throws in the towel. You can't have faith after you've thrown in the towel, after you've given up, after you raise the white flag. So faith is courage. Why? Because faith gives you the courage to carry on, the courage to keep pushing, the courage to become persistent, the courage to see something different while every other person has counted you out, the courage not to actually take other people's put down, to take it on the chin and carry on, the courage, like when people praise you, acknowledge, say thank you, but to persist and focus on your goal. That is faith. I'll give you a quote from George Eliot. George Eliot says, "Never wait to be what you might have been." Another one from Emerson says, "To be great, you have to be a starter." That's in little actions over time builds a house. Like a house is like always brick by brick by very little bricks on their own, they're nothing. But when you put them together over time, they become a shelter, they become a home for someone, they house someone, they keep the rain off you, the sun off you, they keep you warm. That's what faith is. Over time, knowing that if you keep putting one step in front of the other, regardless of how long it takes, you are going to get to your destination. Even if you don't hit your target, you're going to fall so close to it that you've learned from your past. John Maxwell says, falling forward. That is faith. The faith to stand up time and time again after all things have failed. The faith to know, like, look, you've made wrong decisions in the past. The last 8 years is gone. You've chosen something. Now you have a new decision to start. That's faith. Jordan Peterson says, start where you can. What's he saying? Saying simply, look, whatever's gone in the past is gone. You are in a different place now. So start where you can. Start small. Start where you are. Forget about yesterday. Your yesterday has brought you here today. Probably if you never had this experience yesterday, you'll never appreciate today. So start where you can. Make the decision. Like, don't ever wait for like a savior or someone to come and help you. Like, you are your own action. You are your own future. What's the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario, whatever you plan doesn't work out. But now you've learned from your mistake. So most time it's not actually about getting to the top of the mountain for the view. It's about the process, the climbing. That's where the experience comes from. So whatever you've done in the past, whatever mistakes you've made, you have another chance, another goal. But above all that, remember that you are a reflection of your society.